So we're eating potatoes fried up with celery and onion and garlic and mushrooms and salt and pepper.
It looks
and
awesome.
Then he's having his with cooked peas, and I'm having white beans and some cilantro. And then there's guacamole in here that I made. And we were given these tomatoes
Pretty soon
at the
we'll
Salvation
be
Army,
producing
but
our own.
yeah,
Like
so
I had
we've
3 of your tomatoes.
yes.
And pretty soon I'm going to be able to share my tomatoes with Pauline. Now they're really hers, but they're at my place. And
No,
I've been
they're
taking
his.
care of them.
I
but,
started
Pauline
them off
started
for
them
him.
off, and that's the real key, you know. And then she started them off in my yard. He planted them all. So. But I've been watering them,
Yeah.
and so they're partly mine. You know, like it's involved a lot of work, but it's you know, it's hard on my back. But I think yard work is good for people. You know, you're up against plants, you're getting oxygen and some exercise and stuff like that. You know, so long as you get the plants surviving and stuff like that, I think it's, like I say, good for the soul.
So I've started wrapping up little buddy like a burrito and sticking him in my shirt, because especially in the morning, oh shoot, he has a hard time waking up. He does.
Yeah,
I
we were
really
worried about that. But,
I should sleep with him, because he'd wake me up to tell me, oh, I need some food or I need water or whatever.
I was very
Because I'm
enthused about food last night.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand, like, when he's, because see, in the morning he's not vocal, and I'm like, I might be kind of starving him overnight, right? Because why isn't he vocal, you know? Because later on in the day he has different sounds that he makes, and one of them is, I want some food.
Oh yeah. So I'm getting to know some of the sounds he makes, and one of them is just kind of like
I've really made a mess there.
Is kind of like I'm here sound. And I heard a duplicate of it yesterday in my neighborhood, in the tree underneath where I rescued him from the crows. And I suspect he fell out of that tree, so that would be from the nest.
Sibling.
A sibling, yep. The nest up in the tree, it's an elm tree, and that's the tree that I saw what I figured was one of his parents hanging on real low. I you know, it was about 4 feet high. It might have been getting some bugs out of there, but it might have been trying to see where whatever happened to
Let's
Cecil.
get some water in you before you go to sleep. Come on. Open. There we go. So what I've been doing to wrap them up like a burrito is I just put I've been saving. Okay, so when I go out to the library or to pick up food from the Salvation Army now, I come back and I wash my face off with one of those wet wipes, and I wash my hair and everything that's, you know, that I can't change out of. So I can take my clothes off, but this might have gotten contaminated with COVID for all I know. So I've been saving the wet wipes because I don't want to waste them. And I dry them out, and then I put them in a used wet wipe container, like the ones that the new ones came out of. But there we go. So anyway, so I have quite a few of those kicking around. I was gonna use them for my paint brushes for art, and then I thought, well, you know, they're probably fine. They're probably safe because they've been around for a year or whatever, or, you know, a long time. And so they're probably not infected with COVID anymore, right? because they dried out and then they're, anyway. So I've been using them for little buddy, for putting on the bottom of his burrito, putting on the face cloth, which this used to be a towel for in the kitchen, but it's pretty, I don't even think I can bleach that to make it look like something I'd want to have in the kitchen now. So anyway, yeah, I just wrap him up and I stick him in there, because then he gets, because the egg, I keep this in the fridge,
Yeah.
you know, I have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I wash this, you know, each time I'm done a yolk, which I'm done a yolk 2 days. It takes 2 days to eat a yolk. So, yeah. So anyway, what was I going to say?
You were talking about feeding him 2 days.
Oh, yeah. So I found that if I keep him here, he eats more often.
Oh yeah, you were
I
also
keep 'em
talking
warm.
about the eggs. I think you were leading up to they were cold. They're
Yes,
cold.
they're
out of the
cold.
fridge.
That's what I was going to say. So I think, because I was trying to warm it up a little bit, like putting the thing between my legs or in my armpit or whatever, but I can't really. It's still cold for him. And so, like, if I had like, this is too small for the egg to go through, but if I had one in the middle and I could put less egg and then I could warm it up, that'd be better. But anyway, so it's cold for him, so then after he eats, he shivers, right?
Oh.
So that's not good. And so I stick him in here and he's okay. He seems to be better in there. But, and plus, if I'm sleeping with him at night, which is difficult, like last night I finally, like James said, just put him in the basket.
Mm-hmm.
So I did,
We
but
had him
now
in the
he's
basket.
all, you know, not very energetic
Yeah.
and stuff this morning, and I'm worried about him, right? So that I have to find some way to deal with it so I'm not worried about him, because this is a stressful time when
Yeah.
he's not energetic, right? I worry, oh, did I leave him alone too long and not give him enough water and da 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 da, whatever, right? So anyway.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a, well, I haven't checked this out. I just heard some people talking about it. I think it was a town in British Columbia. Everyone burnt. Everyone died.
I don't know what that's about because,
People have been warned to get out.
but
so
I didn't hear it on the CBC.
Oh, you
last
didn't?
night.
Okay. So maybe that just might be a rumor.
No,
Come on.
they might have been talking in retrospect about Lytton.
Come on. I don't want to eat you. Anyway.
So they were maybe misunderstanding what happened in Lytton.
Yeah, maybe, because
Like,
they
I don't
didn't
know. Did 2 people die, maybe?
Yeah, I think a couple people did.
So what I heard about yesterday was some guy was out hiking.
Do you want some of this?
Sure, yeah. That'll be enough.
Okay.
Some guy was out hiking in BC, and I'd like to think he started hiking
Before the
Before
fires?
the fires.
Yeah, because who does that?
but I'm afraid it's not the case. Anyway, he was rescued by helicopter. Now, they were going to fight a fire or something like that, and they saw him, which means the fires were in. No. And these things are fast, you know, like how fast are you on foot? You know. Do you know what's happening? Did he have a radio with him so he could know where the fires were? Our radio is actually going to report exactly where they are. Anyway, they were kind of there, and maybe they shouldn't charge him for it. You know, I mean, charge him money for it.
I don't know.
It just seems like a really foolish, rash thing to do. They were assuming he was dead, I believe.
But yeah, all of this food, like we had bought the potatoes and the celery and the beans, and the cilantro. and the red onions. But honestly, they were giving away onions at the Salvation Army, so I could have got onions, and I could have got potatoes, but they're heavy, and I'm packing the stuff, right? So I didn't take them. But James has said that he might pick me up there sometime so that I don't have to pack it. But anyway.
I'm not sure why we weren't. Is it because we were afraid? Why weren't we taking the car?
Maybe because I was having to wait so long? I don't know why.
Maybe that.
I'm going to have to wash those tomatoes again. Flies are all over them.
Well.
Anyway, what was I going to say? But the avocado came from there. Oh, the garlic didn't.
I think initially we didn't think there'd be that much stuff.
No.
So.
But the lime came from there, so all of this meal, besides the cilantro and the beans, I think, and I don't know what else. It could have came from the Salvation Army, and much of it did. So, yeah, it took me. How long was I cooking today? Maybe a couple hours?
It seemed a long time. I've got to admit, I drifted off while I was reading.
It takes a while to wash vegetables and stuff.
The bell jar.
Chop them up. But I wouldn't have had time to make stuff like this when I was working full time doing horticulture. There's no way. And
well, there's the energy too.
And now that I'm at home writing poetry and stories and stuff like that instead, I have more, like, I'm at home anyway, so there's not the commute time involved that maybe, but I have way more energy, and then I can make this stuff when I feel like I have the energy, so it's maybe that's it too. But yeah, I actually eat more healthy food now that I'm not working, because I have the time to actually prepare it. So somebody has to be, in order for a household to eat healthy, someone has to be there to make the food, and it has to be somebody who's willing to put in the energy and time, because it takes a lot of time to clean and chop up and whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, I was working for maybe, like James said, it was sometimes 16,000 a year, sometimes as much as 25,000 a year.
I average it out to about 20,000.
Yeah.
Which is about.
But in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't worth it. I mean, I bought my house. So you have to work so that you can buy your house, because in Canada, so far, they can't take it away from you. If you become crippled or something and can't, your house is yours. They're not going to kick you out. But besides that, I really can't see any incentive for working for a low-paying job, or several. You know, like,
it happens
that's
so
how
often.
people do it. I mean, my mom worked constantly. She was working, I remember when I was about 10 years old, 9 years old, and she was working, she was trying to go to school to become a bookkeeper. She wanted to become either a librarian or an accountant, but that was offered at the college, and so where we lived. Yeah, the bookkeeping. And she had to be the breadwinner, so she didn't have time to focus on her own education, really. Anyway, so she was going to school at the college during the day, And after school, she was working at a bookstore in the mall, and it would have been minimum wage sort of thing, right? And
Which
then
bookstore was that? Like a Kohl's? Or
it
something?
wasn't there anymore. When
Okay.
it was kind of an interesting one. They had big wooden doors like a castle, like
okay.
rounded going in. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so she worked there, and then she'd volunteer for different groups because some jerks, some aggressive propagandist would convince her to volunteer for pro-life or for SPCA or something like that. If you are a effing pro-life person and you know that somebody has kids at home and you're trying to sucker them into taking time away from their kids so that they can volunteer for you, you,
Shame on you.
that is horrible. I never saw my mom. I had to wait up until she got back.
See?
Between her going to work at the fire hall for the night shift and her coming back to from volunteering for jerks like you, I never saw my mom.
And it's not just the pro-lifers. There's a lot of people who are using. It's the Briggs-Myers thing. It would be passive workers.
Yeah. So if you're a passive worker and you have a family and you're working for minimum wage sort of jobs, it's a pandemic. You're going to risk taking home your getting the COVID and possibly dying from it. You're the breadwinner. What's your family going to do then? Your kids are going to be in the foster care system or something? So you're risking you not being able to be a breadwinner for them. You're risking them getting sick. Maybe they'll have lifelong symptoms from it. You don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows yet.
No one knows.
And you could eat like this if you had the time. You could feed your family this well, going to places like the Salvation Army to get food.
So yeah, we've lucked out with COVID. They say India might have had 5 million more deaths than they're reporting. They're reporting less than 1 million. The world is reporting something like 4 or 5 million people dead. When this sleaze bucketry started, I predicted 15 million. Yeah. Based on what they were doing, like they weren't taking it seriously at all. They were just going to let it run its course until they saw what was happening in Italy. I was punching out the lights of their health system, and then they decided to at least save the health system. They didn't really care about people dying. They were doing just enough to keep the health system from crashing. And that's basically been the approach in a lot of places in the world. The United States, Alberta, Ontario. Quebec's been a little bit better. BC's been a little bit better. Quebec got a little bit better. Their initial response was very unsatisfactory. Well, I mean worrisome. I mean negligent. I'm talking about criminal negligence. But what happened with the Spanish flu? Because it came in 2 waves. It was so stupid. They're going along, well, we might have to put up with a second wave. No spit. And what they didn't understand is with all the travel that we've got, by comparison with 100 years ago,
There's just so many more people. So there's so
there's
many
more
more
people.
potential connections.
And also, the technology allows for connections, particularly if you're allowing tourism.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what they're doing. You know, Trudeau lets 1 million people fly the coop, and then he's calling them back. This was over a year ago, about a year and a half ago. A year ago, over a year ago. What a fool. So, that second wave was incredible. First wave affected old folks and affected young people, very young people. Hadn't got their immunity. But the second wave selectively went after young, healthy people. My granddad was one such young, healthy person. He eventually lived to be 87 or so years old. Born in 1882, died in 1967. And the people on my dad's side of the family have constitutions of horses. They're incredible. Like my dad's almost 98 and a half years old. And he's still got his mental faculties. And stuff like that. So my dad talks about my granddad, his dad playing baseball, I think it's supposed to be when he's in his 50s, but we'll say in his 40s. Well, baseball's not the most challenging sport physically, but I remember my granddad never put on weight, stuff like that. He was physically active and so on and so forth. That's one reason why he lived so long. But he caught that Spanish flu way back, I guess it was 1919 or something like that. That was the second wave. Now let's just look. Hold on a second. He was born in 1882. And so, how old would have he been? 18 plus, he would have been something around 36 years old, 37 years old. And he caught it. And he had the constitution of a horse. His wife caught it. I don't know what her constitution was like. That's not my grandmother. She was pregnant. Her baby didn't make it. She didn't make it. She would have been roughly his age. It was a mean sort of thing. And then he almost died. I said they weren't in the hospital or anything like that. The story goes that her family came and took her goods once she died. And he was so weak, they took his goods. They took his goods too. Just stole the stuff right from under his nose. He couldn't do anything about it. He was that laid up with the Spanish flu. So we've been lucky so far. So far. Well, there come along a variety that has immunity, shall we say, to the vaccines that we've had so far, and affects selectively young folks. No guarantee about it. And the powers that be, almost everywhere in the world, with the exception of Australia, New Zealand, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland, and up until now, New Brunswick, they've been negligent. They've been criminally negligent. The negligence and the criminality is on the scale of it being a crime against humanity. As far as I'm concerned, Jason Kenney, Rob Ford, especially Donald Trump, um, Boris Johnson's a total fool. I'm afraid he's just been put in place by Putin to scrap
I should have eaten the strawberries. I don't
Great
like
Britain.
them.
What a awful. Boris, if you're watching, you should be dying of embarrassment. You are such a skunk. But of course, the worst are the people in power in the People's Republic of China. I mean, Joe Biden's coming out and saying, I'm afraid it's true, that at least one of the big hack jobs trying to bring the United States to its knees, or the world to its knees, came out of the People's Republic of China. Thank you, People's Republic of China. Thank you for spreading COVID around the world. This is war criminality. It's not crime against humanity. You unleashed this on the world intentionally. I don't know whether you developed this or not. But you unleashed it on the world by squawking about racial prejudice. No, racism. Closing the borders. Keep those borders open. You spread it intentionally. You got the WHO trumpeting your call. The world should go in and invade you. That's the whole world. It should be World War IV. Should invade you and get rid of your misleaders, your Führers, your imams, your Vajs. All these things mean leader, and they're misleaders. You're misleaders. You're scums. You're Führers. You're horrible. And here you are, hacking into economic systems. Here you are taking over the South China Sea. Here you are stealing sand from in order to make these fake islands, artificial islands in the South China Sea, so you can spread your empire all over the world. Here you are taking over Nepal, slowly but surely, cooking the frogs slowly so they don't realize what's happening. Here you are supporting the Naxalites in India. Here you are extending your control over Tibet, colonizing Tibet with Han people. Here you are doing this, that, and the other thing. You slime buckets. You awful people. Like I say, the world should go in there and say, the world can't afford to have you. It's World War IV. If you destroy us, it won't be any different from you taking us over. We should just walk in there and say, don't blow up the bomb, because we're taking you over. We are getting rid of the slimy commie party. You slimy pukes. You're worse than death. You awful pukes. You are setting up to take over the whole world. You slime buckets. I'm trying to avoid using cuss words here.